Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with episode number 2 of the Host Crunch podcast. I apologize, guys. We said we were going to be posting every week, and we didn't end up doing that. We actually filmed an episode the next week, but as I was starting to edit it, I noticed that it was so bad that we can't even post it. So I was like, Aaron, we're not posting this. We said every episode was going to be better than the one before. So we have to have a little bit more of a plan when we do these, because the last one, we literally winged it and it was terrible, guys. It was not good.
It was pretty bad. We got more of a plan this episode, but we better hope we don't do really well, because if we're truly trying to one up every single episode, we might never do another post.
Hey, that's the thing with YouTube. The key is to try to make every video better than the one before it. And over time, you'll notice with a lot of YouTubers, they start posting less because it's hard to one up and do something new and have some cool video to show people. But that's honestly the way you make the best videos in the world. In my opinion, it's not always about consistency. It's also about making content that people actually want to watch, because I'm not trying to waste people's time. Not to say that this is some insane content for you guys, but if you enjoy the Financial Wolf, you'll enjoy this. So sorry,
we got to take it seriously. We got to make sure that people are treated well.
100%. You ready to jump into it?
Let's do this thing.
First up, we are going to be jumping into a tier list. As you guys saw from the title and thumbnail, we are going to be ranking a bunch of different Turo cars, all the way from S tier, which are cars that we think would do absolutely fantastic on Turo, based on personal experience with Aaron managing over 50 Turo cars at his peak, and me also having quite a role in Turo management over the last few years, especially. I think we're pretty qualified to rate some of these.
I think so. Also, can you explain to me, I'm not super well versed on tier lists. Can you explain what S tier is?
So S tier is like the best, goated, absolutely phenomenal, like an A plus, basically. Grading someone like 100% would basically be S tier. A is probably, like a 95 to 90 range, A minus, A. And then homeless tier is just like, you would never in a million years rent the car out. You highly don't recommend it no matter what. Only a few cars would go in there, but that's kind of
okay.
That makes the rating.
But does S stand for something?
Superior, maybe? I don't know.
Superior, super. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So nobody knows. It's just simply S.
I don't know. Maybe people know in the comments below, but I'm not 100% sure.
All right. We'll read back and we'll figure it out.
So this first car that we're going to be rating is a Jeep Wrangler. Now, this could be any year from a 2013 to a 2025, because to be able to list a car on Turo, it needs to be 12 years or newer and less than 130,000 miles on the odometer. So a Jeep Wrangler, I've personally never rented one out, but Aaron actually has rented quite a few out, and he also had his own Jeep Wrangler. So do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, so the Jeep Wrangler, the Jeep Wrangler was my first car that I purchased for Turo. At the time, I thought it was a great investment. The first few months, I did like $2,000 profit, but it was like the cardinal sin of a Turo host. It was way too expensive of a car, and I financed the vehicle. So the first, year or so, you're feeling great, you're doing really good numbers, but then as you go on, especially with a Jeep Wrangler, you have issues come up, you make less money on the car because it's getting older, and it looks worse. So the first year that I had that Jeep Wrangler, I would say it was definitely like A tier. Because I do think less people had it in Denver where I was renting it out. But as I went on, and if I'm looking at it from like the full rental experience with that car, with the amount of issues, with it costing me money every single month, I think it drops from what would have been like an A tier down to, I'm going to say C. I'd say solid C.
And I think another mistake you made when buying that car, because you were a total noob with Turo at the time, is you bought it with a lot of modifications, which can make problems with insurance, because the value on the insurance isn't going to account for all the money that you spent on modding that Jeep out, or you bought it actually with all those mods. So it's a little bit tough.
100%. Yeah, that's a pretty slept on thing. Having a bunch of modifications on the car, it's really cool. Like it feels like it should do better for you on Turo, but then when you think about, if somebody goes and they break off the tailgate tire holder, I can't claim insurance because it's an additional item. It's as if they like broke your iPhone cord. It's just an additional item that you can't claim insurance on.
Yeah, honestly, I think this car is lucky to be in C tier. It could even be D because in Denver, I think it's a not a terrible car to rent out just because you can get a higher daily rate versus other vehicles. But in a place like Wisconsin or the Midwest where I live, people, okay, we get snow, but people are gonna rather rent like a minivan or, a Subaru versus a Jeep Wrangler, in my opinion. But it's still a
Yep.
cool car, so we're gonna put it in C.
Yeah. I think that's a very fair spot.
All right. Before we jump into some of our cars that I know we're going to list pretty high, I want to throw some more fun ones out there. So, have you ever heard of people renting out classic cars on Turo?
I've heard of it, but I've never actually seen it in action. I've actually
Okay.
tried to list a car myself that was considered antique, but they didn't accept it.
When I kind of browse the Turo platform for classic cars, you really couldn't find too much. It seems like they're very picky on cars that they approve. It has to be fully restored, like super, super nice. I saw actually this one car that was listed on Turo, this classic Corvette. It was in the California area. It was at about $130 per day, which I think is a pretty decent daily rate for an old car, but you have to think about how much time was put into it, restoring this car, keeping it nice. It probably has sentimental value to the person renting it out. Dude, I don't know if I'd touch this. I'd honestly put it pretty low. What about you?
Dude, I would say homeless tier. But here's the thing, you don't even know if that car is gonna make it on Turo in the first place.
Yeah,
If you're telling me you're gonna go out and you're gonna buy this car to put on Turo, it just doesn't really make sense to me because you might get denied, you might have just spent how much do you think that car is worth?
a lot. And the thing about it with most cars, you can know right away if it's eligible for Turo because you just put the
Yeah.
VIN in and you try to list it. But if the car's older, you have to go through a process like emailing Turo, showing like how the car looks and giving them info on it. So it's kind of a hassle. I would probably not touch it.
Yeah, I wouldn't touch it. It would be cool in concept. Oh, I think people would wanna rent it out for a lot of money, but if you're telling me that this car makes $130 a day, then it just doesn't make sense. That car has to be worth way more. Any repair that you're doing on this car is gonna cost you so much money because it's an antique, and at some point, this car is not gonna be able to be rented any longer, and it's just gonna be trashed, and that's just a sad thing to do to an antique car.
100%. Kind of going through a few of these a little bit more quickly. What do you think about a Jeep Grand Cherokee? Have you ever rented
Mm.
one of these out?
Yeah, we did quite a few of those. I think they're a little bit more practical than the Jeep Wrangler because there's less things that will break. It costs probably around less than most Jeep Wranglers on the high end. I'm gonna say this is better than the Wrangler. I'll throw it in B, just
Okay.
barely better.
How do you think that they are in terms of reliability?
It's Jeep. Jeep breaks. Jeep in general as a brand is like tough on reliability, but the Wrangler I think is the one that everybody has the wobble, everybody has these random modifications that will break. It's a cool car if you have a bunch of money and you want to go off-roading, but for Turo doesn't make sense. So the Grand Cherokee, that one makes a little bit more sense, which is why we'll go B.
What do you think about a Honda CRV? Now, funny enough, I had a Honda CRV that looks exactly like this back in the day. I ended up selling it at some point, but I bought it for $11,000. This was the first time I ever met Aaron. He actually helped me buy the car out in Denver. I listed it on Turo and it was making pretty good money, like a solid 1,200 bucks a month when I rented it out in Austin back in the day. So I'd rate it probably an A tier. What would you put it in?
100% A tier. So
Do you think it's S tier or A?
dude, this one's borderline S tier. This is borderline S tier simply because the Honda CRV, so Consumer Reports is where I go to see if a car is reliable. This is literally the mecca of reliable cars. So when you're putting cars on Turo, the reliability has such a big factor for me because I'm going to have to spend less on repairs and it's going to be on Turo more because it's not getting as many repairs. So if you're telling me you were making $1,200 per month with this car, how much did it cost you? Like 11 grand?
It cost me $11,400.
That's S tier. That's
Yeah,
S tier. You paid it
that's
off
pretty
within a
solid.
year.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, average like 1,200 bucks a month in Austin. It was a really solid car. I wasn't even taking Turo like super seriously back then, and I remember it crushed it for me. Like I would highly recommend this car, almost even more so than a Subaru in some cases. I think Subaru is another S tier likely, but I just think that in terms of like issues with Subaru, you're going to have some stuff that goes wrong. Like there's common issues like wheel bearings, like certain types of maintenance and repair that's higher with Subaru than Honda. So I would say that, it might even be even better than a Subaru.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, simply for the reliability on this car specifically, it's S tier. Like that is kind of the main factor that I'm playing with here is like you're going to buy this car, put it on the platform, you're not going to have issues, your guests aren't going to get pissed off about some car that's all broken down and stuff. So for that reason alone, even if you just, barely were making profit, that is an S tier car.
What do you think about a Kia Sorento?
I don't have too much experience
One
with
of
a
these Kia
Sorento.
SUVs here. Have you ever seen a car like
Yeah,
this that
but
you've rented out?
SUVs, Kia used to be so ugly. They used
Yeah.
to be so ugly, and then they did this rebrand where everything's cool looking now. So if it's a newer Kia, I think we gotta be around the B tier because it just looks cool now. They're not that reliable of cars though. That's my only issue there.
I've heard from a friend who sells cars that they have the best warranty in the business, but I think that's for a
Oh,
reason.
because they
And I
break.
think buying new cars also is a risk. I've heard Aubrey Janique, her method was to buy Kia Sorentos, I believe, that were around 2015, 2013, that had a warranty for if the engine breaks, that you can get a new one. Because like it was a recall in the engine to where if the engine blows, the
Yep.
manufacturer has to get you a new one. So her strategy was to buy these Kias. So you have to be really smart when it comes to buying these cars. I wouldn't automatically put it in A or S. So I think B tier is fair, but you got to be careful with like the type of
Yeah.
Kia you get. So I'd almost want to put it in C, but because there's definitely opportunity out there, especially if you're a little bit handy or you know what you're doing a bit, it might be smart. I don't know. But I
Yeah,
maybe will put it in C.
dude, I might put it in C because if you're telling me they got warranties because of how bad the car is, by the
Yeah.
time you buy it used, which for the most part, you and I, we like to buy used vehicles instead of going to the dealership for the ROI. So when you buy it used, you're probably not under warranty anymore, and you're probably at risk of that engine just blowing up on you.
Yeah, she was buying them used, obviously, but they
But
were
the
so
warranty
bad
was
that
still
like
active.
yeah, it was still active. So she had to like specifically look for these cars, or she looked for cars that recently got a new engine already and stuff like that, or she
Interesting.
put a new engine in them or needed an engine. So, yeah.
We had a Kia. I forget what kind of Kia was it. Do you remember that? The Kia that was
Yeah.
at the shop for about a year?
Yeah, so it had an engine knock. It like literally blew up on a trip, I believe. And Aaron went out to go see the car. It was absolutely screwed. And he took it to a shop and it took like a year for the warranty company because he had like a third party warranty. It took forever for them to like cover it.
It was so annoying. And it wasn't the warranty company even, it was actually the mechanic shop that
Oh,
I went to.
really?
Because this is, again, very early on in my Turo career, so I didn't have good relationship built out with any shops. So I brought it to this shop just kind of being like, "Hey, do you do warranty work?" And they're like, "Yeah, bring it on by." 1 year later, I get the car.
Jeez. I'd be pissed. How many times were you like hounding them?
Dude, all the time. It was at the point where I would like drop in and like try to bring them cookies and stuff and be like, "Hey, how's the car coming? Like, can we get it back? Can we fix it?"
Dude,
Because they had been paid out already by the warranty company.
that's one thing about you, dude, is you're very good at like being like personable still when someone's kind of screwing you. Like you're a very like cordial person. So I will like respect you for that.
Yeah, I tried to be. I don't know if in that situation being cordial is the right move. I should have probably
Yeah.
like
Pushed a
at
little
that point
harder.
it's like call the Better Business Bureau and report
Yeah.
them and I don't know.
Better Business
At
Bureau.
this
Oh,
point,
they love hearing
yeah,
that because I have a friend. He's in like the car sales business, and sometimes people will just be like, "I'm calling the Better Business Bureau," and
that
at
doesn't do
his work,
anything.
they're like, "Oh no, oh no, you're calling the Better Business Bureau," because it's like the Karen like response to stuff. But obviously,
Yeah.
in that case, like they were probably in the wrong. But
Yeah, if you I don't know, people don't like the chance of their business being at some type of risk. So
Yeah.
maybe it works. I would have to look into how to truly threaten a
Get them.
business for my next experience like this.
Where would you rate a Honda Fit at?
Dude, Honda Fit's a great car because they're so cheap. They're so
Yeah.
cheap, and it's a Honda. It's reliable. You could probably get them. We had a client the other day buy a Honda Fit, and it was like 9K. And that car is going to be on the platform for easily like 4 or 5 years. It's going to make him good money, probably like, it's going to bring in like $1,000 a month revenue. I'm going to put that in S tier simply because, again, it's reliable, it's cheap, and it's got a long shelf life on Turo.
I agree. I think that's a definite S tier car for sure. I would love to get a Honda Fit as one of my next Turo cars. I recently bought a Corolla, so that's a great example of probably another S tier car. But obviously, we're not going to reiterate every specific model. You'll kind of get the gist from this list because
Yep.
we have like a ton of different types of cars. But where would you rate let's do Toyota Yaris?
Toyota Yaris, the Aubrey Janik Special. I would say that's got to be another S tier car. There's a reason she puts her name behind it. You know,
Yeah,
I would say
I would
that's
I would
another S
agree.
tier car. Same
And she
exact
was buying
reason.
them cheap, cheap. Like I've seen some of
Mhm.
her Toyota Yaris's. Like she has one that's been rented for years and years at this point. I don't even know how much money she's made on it, but I saw it and I was like, dude, it's a little clapped out, but like you probably made like 40 grand and like people
Yeah.
just need a car to like rent. So I respect it. Like I saw it and I was like, dude, that's crazy.
Yeah, she turned that car into a business. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And then she gets content out of the car.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she's doing it right. She's doing very well with that.
Doing another S tier here, I'm going to put the Toyota Corolla up there as another
Nice.
S tier Turo car to buy. The reason for that is I can give you an example. Yesterday, actually, I went and bought a Toyota Corolla. I paid $9,300. It was listed for $9,500. It was for a client that I'm going to be managing on my fleet. I'm super excited. Like I think it's going to do great. Yeah, $9,300. We're going to register it in Montana for no sales tax.
Go.
Saving like the 7.9% tax in Milwaukee since the client has a business out in Montana. And I think it's going to do good on the fleet. So I'm excited to see how much it does, but I'm pretty much guessing it'll do at least 1,000, if not like, 1,100-1,200 bucks a month, because that's pretty much what all my cars tend to do at the bare minimum. Every car in
Yeah.
my fleet does at least like $1,000 if it's like fully rented. So yeah.
I like it. Yeah, I think that's a totally fair assumption right there, giving that an S tier.
Let's put a fun one here. How do you feel about an Audi A4?
A4. How much do you think that would retail for?
So here's the thing. You can get a new one or a used one. A
Sure.
new one is pretty expensive. You're probably looking at 30,000. It's like a base model Audi. It's a nice, obviously it's a more luxury brand, but it's not like
Yeah.
crazy expensive if you're getting like an A4, A3, A2. But you can get like a used Audi. I was looking at one that was listed on Facebook Marketplace and I sent it to a client when we were looking at buying like the Corolla. We were looking at a bunch of different cars. And this car was listed for about $9,500 on
That's
Facebook
pretty good.
Marketplace. And it had 114,000 miles. It was a 2013. So like that's the cheapest you could go, probably like 9 grand. To the most expensive, like a new version is like 30K. So if you can get it like around 10K, how do you feel about them? Like, are they reliable? They're going to be a little bit higher maintenance, but I don't think they're bad cars.
Here's my issue with it. The cars that you're seeing, Maserati's kind of like this too. I was very surprised. I saw there's a Maserati, I forget exactly which type it was. It was like $14,000, like nothing. And these cars that start out super expensive and then you can buy them at like $10,000, there's a reason that's happening. It's because these cars depreciate like nobody's business, right? And the
Yeah.
cars that are depreciating, they depreciate for a reason. It's because when you buy them new, they're fun and they're cool, and then they start to have these issues, and there's such headaches that nobody wants the cars. And so I would say an Audi, if you're telling me it's depreciating down from 30,000 down to like 10,000, I would say like C tier. I would say C tier just because I would project some issues with that car.
So I don't know. I want to push back a little bit. I'm kind of looking up the reliability for an Audi A3 as we speak, but it
Okay.
says online that an Audi A3 has mixed reliability with average ratings, but known issues like oil consumption, potential water pump failure, timing chain tensioner problems, and costly maintenance requiring diligent upkeep. It's common for leaks, but you will get a higher daily rate. And I wouldn't put them in the same class as a Maserati because they're not really like that crazy of a car. Like
Yeah.
it's a nice car. And I would even put it below like a Mercedes or a BMW. That's just kind of like my opinion. I think that they're maybe more built for the consumer than something like a BMW or a Mercedes.
I
I want to
think
put them in A or B personally,
A
but I
or
guess we
B.
could settle at B because you
Let's
said
settle at
C.
B. Let's settle at
Yeah.
B because I said C, but I think that's a good point. Yeah, when you're thinking Maserati, that's gonna be like your super luxury.
Yeah.
Audi, you see people driving around those, on the daily basis. So
Yeah.
I'd say that's a totally fair rating. I like it.
Okay. What do you think about a Slingshot? We've seen people rent
Oh
these on
my
Turo.
gosh. That's like if you go to Miami, you got those going around all the time. They're really cheap, aren't they? They're like
Yeah,
surprisingly
they're
cheap.
I mean, you can get a used Slingshot for like probably like 10K. Used Slingshot 2013. Let's see how much they are. I mean, you can get one for like 12,000, a used Polaris Slingshot.
Okay. I
And they're
just don't
gimmicky, but
know
they're good in
anything
the
about these
summer.
cars.
Yeah.
I I think that I think they could do well. I think they could do well in the right market.
Yeah, in the right market. I want to put
Like
them
if
at
you
like D.
D tier, what's the justification for D tier?
Well, if you think about Denver, Milwaukee,
Not gonna
most of the
happen. Yeah.
states
Yeah,
in
yeah.
in the US, like I wouldn't recommend it. You could check on your local market. Like I've seen them in Milwaukee, like people
Yeah.
driving around in the summer in them. But like I don't think that they would do well other than just in the summer seasons. Like sure, you could get pretty good rates for them, but I don't think that it would do well for like 9 months out of the year where I live where it's kind of cold.
I
So
guess
I would
one
put them
thing
in
I'm
D.
thinking with it is where do you park it? What if it rains? Does it have a cap or is it always open? How does this car even work?
They don't
I
have a
don't get
cap.
it.
It doesn't have
I
a
don't
cap.
understand this car.
I think it's just a summer car when it's not raining.
So where do you
I
put it?
think.
Where do you
You
put it
park
in the
it. You have to
winter? Where do
park
you
it in
put
a
it winter?
garage,
Huh. Yeah, put
I
that thing in
think.
B. That's kinda dumb.
Yeah, I mean, if you live in like a California or something where it like barely ever rains, you have a little carport to put it in.
Yeah,
Might not
yeah.
be a bad car, but I wouldn't try it. All right, doing a couple more of these, I guess a little bit quicker. We talked about it a little bit before. Subaru, white Subaru Outback, 2019. I have one.
Classic.
You rented one for a long time. That was
Yep.
your second Turo car ever was a Subaru, right?
Second ever Turo car. It cost me like I wanna say it was like 19 grand, and it had 14,000 miles on it when I bought it, and it
Mhm.
just that thing's a rock. It just never would die.
How much do you
Um,
think it's made you on Turo so far?
I mean, probably been kicking for like, what, 5 years and averaging, let's say around $1,000 a month, probably a little bit more than that.
Because it's been
Um,
down quite a bit too, right? Like, it's
it's
been
been
down
down
a
quite
little
a
bit?
bit, but it's not because of the car, it's because of bad luck. Like, it was sitting in a parking lot, and somebody just drove past and ripped off the front bumper. And it was, like, just
Oh,
sitting there in between trips, so it was, like, just random things would happen with that car that was annoying. It would kinda take money out of my pocket, but I can't blame the car for it.
yeah,
So that car's probably made me like upwards of $50,000 in revenue over its time on the platform. I'd say it's an S tier car. I definitely agree with
yeah.
you.
And you've
Also,
had months
white
renting it.
specifically.
Why white?
I think white is just a good color. I think
Yeah,
people just like the color white.
I agree. It rents like crazy. It attracts those, like, moms visiting Milwaukee, like, going to
Yeah.
the airport. It has really good renters. Also, like, when you rented it in Denver, that car, like, did, like, over $2,000 some months. People love
Yeah,
taking it
it's
to the mountains.
crazy. It was like the highest earning car on the fleet. I even got a call from my Power Host like account manager dude. He hits me up and he's like, "Aaron, what are you doing differently on this Subaru Outback? Because it's making so much money compared to any other Subaru that we see." So he was looking at internal Turo data and being like, "Dude, this car is making a lot of money. What's going on?"
That's crazy. Yeah, that car is a absolute Turo beast.
Yeah.
But rating some other ones here, how do you feel about a Honda Civic.
Honda Civic. I mean, you're gonna get low daily rates, but it's a Honda. Hondas are again reliable. We're definitely boring people with these annoying reliable cars at the top of the list, but I would have to put it in A tier. I
I would
wouldn't
put
say
it
it's
Yeah, I agree because I don't think Honda. So I think that this car right here, the CRV, is kind of a exception, but I
yeah,
don't think that their Civic is quite as reliable as their Corolla. And obviously,
yeah,
I think Toyota has a competitor to the CRV. I think it's like the Toyota. I don't even know.
RAV4.
It's RAV4. Yeah, but
Yeah,
they're usually. I don't have that on this list, and I don't see a lot of them when I look for Turo cars because first of all, when people buy them, they don't want to sell them, and they've also
yeah,
gotten more expensive. So like they're quite more expensive than something like a CRV.
yeah.
So I didn't put it on this list, but I would put that in A tier if that was on here, the RAV4, along with the Civic.
100%. Yeah, I agree. I think that's a very fair rating. I think Honda in general is like the little brother of Toyota. Like it's doing really well, but Toyota just crushes in all categories. So I think that's a fair rating. I think we got to go A.
Where would you put a G Wagon?
Oh my God. I mean, if you're putting that much money into a car, like here's the thing about a G Wagon that I do like. I do like that people use it as a tax write off because it's over 6,000 pounds. I think that's really cool.
You
But
could get a
it,
Model X though.
yeah, Tesla I've got gripe with too, but we can talk. Do you have a Tesla on here?
I'll put one on here. I didn't.
Okay,
I just thought about that.
yeah, Tesla should be on this list. Here's the thing: if you have the money to go and put into a G wagon, you might be somebody that you just want a G wagon because they're cool, and you might not care about ROI, which is what I care about. So if you're somebody that has a G wagon, I think, or if you're planning to get a G wagon, we should talk and we could, diversify that a little bit. And I think the G Wagon needs to be an F tier. Because you just for that one car you could have gotten 5, 6, 7 cars.
Yeah, I
F tier.
agree. And also, Turo only covers up to $200,000 in value. So if it's more than that, because G Wagons can get expensive, it's a bad idea. And
Yeah.
that's why, for the
Yeah.
same reason, I'd actually put a Ferrari in F tier as well, because I actually did a video with someone who was co hosting a Ferrari for someone, and the Ferrari got crashed. And I remember talking to him when I was filming. I was like, if it's over, $200,000 in value and it gets totaled, you can't get paid out all that from Turo. But it turns out like the guy just didn't care. Like the guy who was renting it with him, he
So
told him
dumb.
about this, and the dude's like, I don't care. Like I can't make the payment. Like I bought it to rent it out, and I like need to. So like he bought a Ferrari and like a Lambo or something,
And
and
then
like
just lost a ton of money
yeah,
on
he
it.
lost a ton of
Like
because
that's
the Ferrari got crashed and it was like totaled or like very high damage.
Yeah, I feel like if you're trying to put a ton of money into something as an investment, Turo might not be the place for you if you just want one asset. Like,
Yeah,
if you want to buy 50 cars, you could literally get like 50 cars for if you wanted to get a $1 million loan, for example. Get 50 cars and you literally have just purchased a fleet of
yeah,
cars on
you could
Turo.
purchase 100
That's,
cars
yeah,
with that.
that's a
It'd be
that's
like
a
you,
good investment. That's a
yeah,
cool investment.
that's more what
But
you're looking.
yeah. I mean, you could go and buy a house instead of buying that car. So it's just a different type of person. And maybe if you got, some crazy amounts of money, these cars make sense for you, but not for me.
For for the same reason, I'm going to go ahead and put the Mercedes SLS AMG in the F tier as well. We don't need to go too much into that, but it's the
Yep.
same thing. It's like, you'd rather spend for the money you're spending on these luxury cars down here, you could buy, so many Honda Civics, Subaru Outbacks, Honda Fits, Honda CR-Vs and Toyota Yaris's or Civics or Audis even. Like you could buy so many more cars for the same price.
You could have
And
a whole S tier fleet.
I'm saving a couple of these for the end because a few of these are going to be super, super interesting. I think our takes
Mhm.
on the Nissan Sentra, this
Yeah.
Jetta right here, a couple cars are going to be super interesting. So make sure you guys stay to the end. But that said, the next car that we're going to be rating is this Range Rover. Now, are we going to put it in S tier or F tier? What do you think? No, we're in
Dude,
between.
not us.
Not
I
S.
mean, it's the same thing. Like it's just the car that costs a lot of money, that depreciates like crazy, that's expensive to fix. I would go F tier.
I would go
What do you
D
think?
tier because you could buy a
Why
used
D?
Range Rover for a lot cheaper. Like it's not that it's like a Maserati.
Sure,
Like you could
sure.
get one pretty cheap. You could buy a used Range Rover a lot cheaper. It might have some issues. If you're slightly mechanically inclined, you could keep it nice and get a decent
Yeah,
daily rate. I think if you were strategic, it could be decent, but I'm
sure.
gonna put it
Okay,
in D.
I'm happy with that, especially because of looking at the F tier, what we have in there. I don't think it totally belongs in that category. I think this is fair.
Yeah. The next car I'm gonna be putting on the list. Ooh, let's see. Mazda Miata.
Hmm, a Miata. One of my friends had a Miata growing up, and he turned it into a drift car. So he would
Really?
like go to rallies and he would drift, and it was actually pretty cool. That's my only real experience with a Miata. What I do know from that experience is he spent like $5,000 purchasing it. I think it's low key like the cheapest sports car that you can possibly buy. And
Yeah.
so for that reason, I might put it at like B tier. I just
Yeah.
don't have too much experience with the car. I know there's like a massive community behind the Miatas. There's a lot of big like Miata heads. I think tier is fair. I just don't know much about this car.
I think if you have like a 10 car fleet already and you want to play around with something, I think the Miata is probably a great car to like play around with. Like either like all of these cars, like an Audi or this Miata right here, I think would be
Yeah,
kind of cool if you have a bigger fleet and you want to play around with some new stuff. I wouldn't be against doing it in the future. I think they're cool and they're cheap. And there's someone who would want to, a lot of people would be like, oh, let me rent a Miata while I'm, in town. I've always wanted to drive one. Like I would
yeah.
totally do that if I was like thinking about it. So. I think it's
Yeah, my only gripe with any sports car in general is just thinking about the guests, right? Thinking about
yeah.
what is the guest going to do when they have this car and they're on the highway and it's wide open. Like they're
Yeah,
going to
no
slam that gas pedal down and they're going to go so fast.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
I'd be a little bit nervous about that, but you know, it.
yeah, that's a good point.
I think B is fair for it, but just thinking more about it, it could be borderline C. We'll move on though.
What do you think about a Ford Fiesta? Now, my first Turo car ever, fun fact, was a 2013 Ford Fiesta. I paid $4,800 for it. Thing was clapped out. It had like a non-working horn. I like rented it out with all these issues, which is probably not something you should do, especially nowadays on Turo. They wouldn't allow that.
Yeah,
But I bought the car for 4,800 bucks. It had a ton of problems, but a lot of that was also due to my due diligence when buying it. These cars also do historically have quite a lot of issues. But if you're smart with it, I think it could be decent. So I'm not going to hate on it that much, but I'm going to put it in C tier.
dude. Simply for the fact that this car got you into Turo and it got you to the point where we called you, we're like, yo, you need help. And it started this whole thing where we worked together and had this whole like Turo experience together. I think that car belongs in S tier. I think this is the financial wolf. This like your name, your face is behind this car. Like when I see a Ford Fiesta driving down the street, especially a red one, I'm like, that is the financial wolf shitty little car with a
We'll
with a
put it,
bow with a bow on
yes,
the dent.
with the bow covering up the scrapes on the hood. The guy literally put a bow on it to cover up like scrapes and stuff. I bought the car at
It's
night like
so
a
funny.
dumbass. It's historic, so we're gonna put it even on top of the
Yeah, that
tier.
is the financial wolf tier. That
Yeah.
car is so goated. We have a whole reaction video when you came out. We reacted to your video buying the car. It was just a
Yeah.
good time. I mean, this is one of those cars that you're like, ah, it didn't really make any money, but you had quite the experience with it. I think
Yeah, and
that's the.
looking back at it, you could buy a Ford Fiesta like decently and like make money. Like it's not impossible.
It's not impossible. You just didn't know anything about buying cars. Like we
Yeah.
bought an absolute dud, and you
Yeah.
got so screwed. So I think that definitely is its own category.
How do you feel about a Hellcat?
Again, I just don't have much experience with it because I never really got into the sports car stuff. What do you think?
Okay, so I would buy one as a joke for videos because I think it would be
Okay.
funny. If I had 10, 12 cars that were making money and like I thought it would be funny, I would maybe buy a Hellcat for Turo because I think it would be
Yeah.
hilarious. It would attract, especially in Milwaukee. terrible renters, people who would
Terrible.
probably drift the thing,
Yeah.
speed, do all types of crazy shit. It would get totaled pretty quickly. For
It'd be
that reason,
hilarious.
as an investment, I would put it in D tier.
Yeah,
But I think it could get a higher daily rate. If I bought like a used Hellcat, I think it could be worth it. So
I think so.
I don't know.
I think it belongs in the D tier, but just because of how intriguing it is as a Turo car and just the experience that you get with it, the stories that you would get with it, it's a C tier car.
Yeah. No, I agree because C means like I'll maybe do it. So I would say it has
Yeah.
to be C because these ones I probably have no interest in doing. Below D tier, I probably won't ever
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah, 100.
But yeah, I would put it in C. And another one that I'm a little intrigued by is renting out a Tesla on Turo. Before we get into your thoughts on Teslas, I would put it in C personally because
Okay.
personally, I would want a Tesla. Like I want a Tesla for my personal car. The reason I
Yeah,
don't buy one is because I would rather invest into things that will make me money instead of
of
buying a
course.
Tesla. But if I
Yeah.
had like extra money to spend, I would totally buy a Tesla. I think they're sick. So for that
If
reason,
we
I'd
were
put it in C.
doing if we were doing a personal car that I would like to drive list, I think that a Tesla is S tier for me. I think Teslas are amazing cars just for driving and the experience with driving, aside from the charging stuff. But as a Turo car, this is the worst car. This is a
No
home,
way.
bro.
I would
This is
say
a
C at
homeless car.
least. No, wait,
No,
why?
I
Tell me
am
your
telling
stories.
you, this is a homeless car. Every other car on this list is a gas powered vehicle. Every single car on this list is a gas powered vehicle, and people know how to drive it. All right. This car is an electric car. Nobody knows how to charge it. If you're a Turo host, you have to take the car out, go charge it, and then bring it back unless you have some setup where you're perfectly like ready to be, renting out a Tesla. So that's annoying. There's a lot of caveats with Tesla where like if you let it sit and you let it drain down too far, then the car's literally stuck and you can do battery damage. People don't know anything about Teslas. And if you look up the most depreciating cars in
You can
general,
buy a used one though for cheap.
bro, they are the number one most depreciating car that is made today. They're the most depreciating car. So I think a Tesla is homeless, personally. I hate managing Teslas.
Can we settle at D tier?
Sure, go
Okay,
ahead and
here's
put it
my
in
thought
D.
process. Okay. You can judge based on this. You can put it in D or F, and this is my justification. If you personally have a Tesla and you want to rent it out, like for example, I don't drive much. If I
Yeah,
bought a Tesla because I wanted a Tesla, I'd probably rent it out.
this
I
sounds
would
like
maybe get
something
a
that you're
setup at
trying
my
to do.
house. Maybe I'm thinking
Are you
about
going to
I
do this?
can't I'm not no because okay, here's the thing. There's so many first of all, I want to scale my fleet. So it's like I'd
Yeah,
rather spend money on that. I want to get my like garage fixed before I get a Tesla, I'd probably have to fix my garage. So there's other things I'd want to do.
yeah.
So it's not anytime soon or maybe not super soon. So I would put it in I guess we could say D or F. What do you think?
I would say homeless. But go ahead and
Fine, F.
put it in
F.
F. Put it in D just so that it doesn't look bad when you do buy one. Go ahead and throw
I
it
don't
in D.
care. I don't know I don't because if they're really that bad, because I could see people really screwing it up if
Here's
you're
the thing,
renting it out to them. Because
the
Hertz got rid of all
self-driving
their
is
Teslas for a reason, right?
yeah, so the other thing about Tesla, which I didn't mention, is Tesla's coming out with its own rental car program. So
Oh,
t yeah. So Tesla is about to put every single Turo host out of business because they're gonna be renting out their cars themselves.
bro,
So
we need a
Elon is
debate.
such a gangster that he's like, "Why would we put the cars on Turo when we can just do this ourselves?"
We got to debate this other like private rental influencer called Max Carhart because he
Mm.
just bought like he bought $1 million worth of Teslas recently to rent on his private fleet in
I bet he did
Arizona.
that before they
He
announced that they were
just did it.
making.
He just did it like a week or two ago.
Really?
Yeah. So we got to debate him because I think this would be an interesting take.
I don't
And
know.
you know what?
That's a big competitor. That's
And
you
every
you're
host,
competing with Turo or Tesla. That's crazy.
yeah. And every host that we interview on this channel, I think we should show this tier list and hear their thoughts on it.
Mm, yes, 100%. Yeah, that'll be very interesting to hear. I
Um,
just don't. I personally, as a car that I managed, this was the biggest headache car.
really.
Teslas were so annoying. Now, it could be a different experience if I had the setup, if I had charging ready, if I had everything ready. But
But you
this
had an
was the
airport
worst car to
setup for
manage.
gas cars. Your setup was automated for
Yeah,
gas.
it was
So,
gas cars. Yeah,
yeah. All right. Well, the next car that we're going to be rating is a Volkswagen Jetta. Do you want to go first or should I?
go ahead.
Now, this could be a new Volkswagen Jetta or a used Volkswagen Jetta. You could buy a used 2013 Volkswagen Jetta for probably $5,000. You can buy a new one for probably like $21,000. I have a new Volkswagen Jetta and a used VW Passat that I rent out. The VW Passat was $5,500 used. I'm financing the Jetta, which is the only car in my fleet I'm financing. I don't necessarily recommend financing, but if you have like enough cars to kind of justify it, it can make sense financing a small portion of the fleet. I try to avoid it in general,
Yeah,
but I really wanted to expand, so I was like, yeah, I got to do
yeah,
it, right?
yeah. Sometimes
Um,
you gotta do what you gotta do.
so I would put the Jetta in A tier personally
Okay,
because of how
I think
cheap
that's
it is. They
fair.
have reliability problems though. That's the thing. They can have reliability. Same with the
Yeah.
Passat.
So, any mechanic that you'll talk to hates Volkswagen in general. Like
Really?
Volkswagen is just a hated brand by mechanics. Although I'm not a mechanic, and if you can buy it that cheap and you can make decent money on it, I'm fine with it being an A tier. I'm fine with that. I would maybe personally say B tier, but because of how much mechanics hate them. But again, I'm not a mechanic. You're not a mechanic. We're
So,
not the one doing the grunt work. So
So I'm a little bit biased on Volkswagen because as a personal car, obviously I've mentioned I like Teslas. I also really like Volkswagen. I think
yeah,
that they're amazing cars as a consumer. Like there's small things on a Volkswagen that I think really separate them from like a Toyota or a Honda or a Subaru when you drive them. Subaru does a pretty good job too at this, but I feel like the doors, even when you like close the doors on a Volkswagen, it feels more sturdy. Like it
hmm,
feels higher quality than like a Toyota or a Honda, like Japanese cars. It
interesting.
drives a little bit better, in my opinion. That is not Turo related. That's just my personal bias that I'm
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
about. Of course, they have more issues. My brother, he's a mechanic and he's like a huge fan of old Volkswagens. So like
really,
he has like old VW Golfs from like the 1980s. He has old VW Rabbit pickups from like the
yeah,
1980s. He has a 1970s Volkswagen bus that he's like working on restoring. It's like he's like a huge VW fan. He had a Beetle at some point.
cool.
Tons of different cool like Volkswagen cars, GTIs, tons of different stuff. So I'm like a little biased. And he says that the
Yep,
new Volkswagens aren't as reliable when they have the turbo in their engine. But if you get like a 2.0 liter base Jetta,
yep.
you could be better off.
Interesting.
So that's what I heard from
So
him.
my first car ever was a 2000 stick shift Volkswagen Jetta,
Hmm.
and it lasted me until I want to say it was at like 220,000 miles when it died. Um, and I would rip around in that car. I would drive so fast in that car. It was insane. And then the last day that it lived, it actually just spontaneously combusted and caught on fire.
No way.
Yeah, it was sitting outside of my house in Denver, and I was out at bars with some friends, and then one of my roommates was home, and he calls me, and he's like, "Hey, Aaron, you might want to get home. The fire department is here, and your car burnt down."
Oh my
So
gosh.
yeah, I guess like it didn't die because the engine failed. It didn't die because of like many things that it could have been. It literally just randomly caught on fire.
It's kind of scary. Oh
Yeah.
boy.
I'll have to send you the video of it burning down
Yeah, we
so
could
that we
put it
can
as B-roll
put it
as
in.
you
Yeah.
talked about it. But
Yeah.
I guess moving on to this next car, before we get into a really fun one at the end, how do you feel about a Kia Soul, a box looking ass car?
They're so ugly.
I know.
They're so
Who would
ugly,
want to
but
rent this? Who would do this to themselves?
I don't know. I mean, the thing is, this is like your classic economy car that just makes some money and it's just ugly and it costs nothing to buy it because they're ugly cars. I would say, I mean, yeah, I think B tier is totally fine for this.
B?
I think B tier
Yeah.
is the place to put this. I wouldn't really put it up there with the Jetta, but this is one of those cars that you can just pick up for like you could probably find one for like, 6K and just throw it on there and make some money.
Yeah.
ROI for this car is probably decent. So
Pretty
I
solid.
would
Yeah.
say B tier.
Just ugly as hell. Just like it has to be the right price. And
Yeah.
like definitely don't buy a new one. Like that would just be
Yeah.
putting yourself into some BS because this car's ugly as hell. They love to get
Yeah.
stolen in Milwaukee, or at least they used to with the Kia boys. But yeah, I wouldn't buy one, but for $6,000, I would consider it. If it was Turo eligible for
Yeah.
6K, I would consider it. Another car here that we're gonna put on the list is a Nissan Sentra. Now, I personally bought a new Nissan Sentra when I got back into Turo a year ago. Looking back at it, that's the worst car in my fleet. It is the worst car in my fleet,
Mm,
the least profitable one consistently. I would rank it pretty low. It's still profitable, but I would not buy it again. I would
yeah.
put it at a C
I'm gonna say I would raise it up a little bit.
because of how
Only
cheap you could buy a used one.
you can buy them cheap, and also I did an analysis on one of the fleets that I work with, and the Sentras were just like hanging out there at the top of the ROI list.
Yeah, because to
They're
be
pretty
fair,
good ROI. So just from that perspective, I would at least put it in B.
I guess that's fair. I guess my Jetta is technically my lowest profitability car because I'm financing it.
Yeah.
But this car, yeah, I guess it could be B or A even. But because I didn't think about how cheap you could buy a used one, and also the fact that there's some other reasons why the car hasn't done as well. Like I borrowed it out to a friend like last month for like a few weeks, and he never paid me. Like we agreed
Oh,
that he'd pay me privately, and I was just like looking
no.
at the numbers, and it was terrible. So there's few things like that skewed it lower, especially this
Yeah.
month and last month. But yeah, I
Yeah, and
think
I
that's
think like the
decent.
thing is it's the worst on your fleet, but you haven't really been buying duds, you
Yeah.
know? It's the worst out of some decent cars.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
So I'd say it's B tier.
All right, guys. With that said, I hope you guys enjoyed this Turo tier list video. If you guys have any comments or questions about our list, if you want us to add any cars in the future, maybe we'll do an update. Otherwise, any comments before we leave, be sure to subscribe to the channel.
Yeah, I think this was fun. I'm curious to see what people think. There's a lot of cars on there that I think you and I don't have the most experience with. So we might have some things that upset people, but I think that's good. I think I want to upset some people with this list.
With that said, we'll see you guys next week with another video for real this time. Peace.
Let's go. Peace.